afternoon, or good evening. I'm Audrey Wiggins, and welcome to another webisode of Make Something Happen. I have James Oliver in the studio with me today. We've been going back and forth for a few months, and finally our schedules connected. And he's here today, and I'm excited. Thanks again, James, for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, you're welcome. So I'm excited of sharing with you. James is he's a tax accountant, he's a financial expert. So he's going to be educating us and telling us about his services and how we can plug into him and get our lives together. So his company is JC and Associates Tax and Financial. That's the name of the company. And so the company is about 20 years old.
Yes.
He's been in business, he's been in business for about 20 years. You have a favorite slogan. What is that saying, James?
My slogan is that are you tired working like a dog and getting paid like a puppy? and if you are, then one of the things you may want to consider is working for yourself. But as with any venture you take, you want to do your homework first before getting into business.
Yes.
One of the things that you want to do is you want to figure out what are the things that you like to do. I think any business that you do, whatever it may be, that you should love doing it. You should something that you do for free, but you want to monetize it.
Yes.
For myself personally, I love taxes. I do taxes now for every day of the year. And so, of course, everyone's not a numbers person, but if that's something that you like doing, then that's something you want to get into. And so, but as a business owner, there are several tax benefits that you can have as being self-employed. For one example, one of the things you can't do as a self-employed person, if you're a worker, is having your home office. Most of the time when we have a home office, then we can write off things that we can't normally write off.
Right.
If you own your own home and you're using a mortgage and paying taxes, then you can write off the mortgage interest and the property taxes.
Okay.
However, if you have your own home office, there's other things that you can write off in addition. For an example, you can write off your homeowner's insurance, your security system, part of your lights, part of your gas, your phone. So those are things that you can write off as a self-employed person that you cannot write off working for somebody else. Another thing that you can write off is that you can use your car or your truck or whatever vehicle you use to go back and forth, because one, if you're working out of your home, and now let's say for an example you go see a client, well, the distance that you leave when you're going home to the client, or let's say you do some travel for your business, you can write that off. Okay. Normally if you going back and forth to work, commuting expenses, no matter how far they are, whether you work across the street or if you work from Cleveland to Columbus, but if you work for somebody driving to Columbus every day, you cannot write that off. Right. However, if you're self-employed, your business is at your home, so every time you leave your home office, at that point, that's mileage. So whether you're leaving and go 1 mile or 100 miles, all that's tax deductible. Awesome. So those are things that you can do. Another aspect that you can do in terms of writing off, in terms of your own business, if you have kids or younger people around the house, you can put them in your business. Instead of giving them something that's not tax deductible, an allowance, which is something that most kids want to have, you can put them in your business, have them work for you. They can learn the aspect of working, and then you can write off their wages. And wages is a tax deductible expense, something that you cannot do if you work for somebody else. Right. And so those are some of the benefits that you can have. Another benefit in terms of being self-employed is obviously you can make your own hours, you can do your own products. So there's a lot of different things that you can do as a self-employed person. But one of the things I would like to share is some things that people do or don't do when they are self-employed to get themselves in trouble with IRS. As everyone knows, if you work for somebody else, and let's say, for an example, you make $1,000 a week, you don't take home $1,000 a week. Absolutely. Because it's the gross pay and then there's the net pay. And the same thing, if you're self-employed, whatever you make, you do not take all that with you, because part of that money belongs to the government. And so what I suggest is this: if you're thinking about opening up a business, the first thing you want to do is have a business checking account and a business savings account. And that's separate from your personal account. And so everything that you take into your business, all the revenues you receive, you put into your business checking. And then at that point, that account will be your platform from which you do other things. For an example, from your business checking account, if you have expenses, let's say, for example, you need to buy supplies or buy paper, then you write a check for those things. That'll be a direct expense from the account. Now, if you want to take some money out for yourself, let's say
Okay.
to go grocery shopping, because grocery shopping is not business, or if you want to do your hair, or you want to do anything, then at that point, let's say you need to take $1,000 out.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's income. So from that $1,000, you need to take out 35% of that $1,000, and you take $350 and you put that in your business savings account.
Okay.
Okay. Well, why, James, 35%? Well, because 15% of that's going to be Social Security.
All right.
Another 15% would be for federal taxes. Another 3% for state taxes, and 2% for city taxes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. So those are things that you put that in your business savings account, and you keep that in your business savings account. And 4 times a year, you will go into your business savings account and then forward those monies to the appropriate authorities.
Okay.
For an example, those 4 times would be April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th.
Okay.
And if you do that consistently and know that the money that you earn when you spend for yourself is not yours, you will never, never get in trouble. The other thing I would suggest is that in getting to business, a lot of times people think getting to a business is just really as simple as opening. It is very simple in terms of opening a business, but one of the things I would suggest is that you need to plan to do your business.
Okay.
Just as people plan for Christmas shopping or plan for anything else. If you want to open a business, what are the costs involved in that business? For an example, if you want to start a restaurant business, there's probably equipment you need to buy.
Yeah.
There's probably other things like plates and utensils and inventory. Well, then you need to find out what are those things going to cost you.
Okay.
My suggestion is that as much as possible, do not saddle yourself with debt, because that's just another expense you're going to incur while running your business. As much as possible, you put money to the side to save that. And even before you start your business, this is something that most people never want to hear when they ask me, James, I want to start my business, what do you suggest I do? The first thing I ask them is that, do you have a emergency fund, a rainy day fund? And most of the time they'll say no. I said, if you're planning to have a business, it's going to probably take you 1 to 2 years to really get that going. So what I suggest is that you have in your personal account and if you're working for somebody right now, about a year's worth of salary in your savings and maybe another a month in your checking account.
Wow.
And the reason why you want to have that is because one of the things that businesses tend to do is that because the cash flow is small, is that you really can't, you need to put money back into your business for it to grow. And it's hard to put money back into your business if you got to pay the lights. Hard to put money back into your business to buy food, to buy clothes. And so you need to have at least minimum, this is absolute minimum, a year's salary in your combination savings and checking account.
Okay.
Minimum. Okay? And that money that you've saved up, that has nothing to do with your business. Now you need another pot for your business account. So if you know you need to buy cooking equipment, appliances, whatnot, you find out what those costs are, and you save up for that.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're going to have enough other costs. You're still going to have rent unless you buy a building. You're still going to have labor, which is going to be a very large factor in running a restaurant business because you're going to have people work for you. And so why saddle yourself with all these expenses because you're never going to have enough money to run that business. So all the expenses that you know you're going to have in the beginning, you need to save for that. And once again, I said, if you don't have your emergency money set to the side, then you know that you'll either, and if you can't do that, then you'll know you'll have to do this restaurant business part-time, work full-time, so you can continue to pay the bills and let the restaurant build enough to itself so that it supports itself. And so if you do that, then you can be able to last longer. One of the things that most people don't understand is that why do businesses, they say 75% of the business that start off in their first year fail? Most of it's cash flow. They don't have enough money to support themselves. And that's probably because a lot of people, what they decide to do is they probably quit their job with no money in the bank, and now they're ready to start this business. And because I'm a great cook, I think it's just going to run. And it's just not going to run that way.
That's right.
And so what you really need to do is to plan this thing. You plan it, either I'm going to have 12 months to 24 months of money in my excuse me, savings and checking account, or I know I need to keep working full time until the restaurant or whatever business I'm in supports itself. And until such time it supports itself, you got to keep working.
That's right.
Okay? And so I think people need to have an understanding, well, this is something that I need to do or something I want to do because I'm really interested. I don't like my job, and you may not like it, but stay in that job just a little bit longer until you get that money set aside.
Right, right.
And even before all this, even if you had 2 years of money in your personal account, let's say you had all your money in your business account that you think you need to spend in order to open your doors, I suggest one more thing. If you've never been in the restaurant business, then there's something called revenue modeling.
Okay.
Revenue modeling is basically if you have not been in the business before, then you need to go work at a restaurant. You know, work as a restaurant as a waiter, as a host, as maybe a part-time manager, so you understand what the business is like, what's involved with the business in terms of scheduling people, in terms of hiring people, in terms of what kind of people to look for. Because need to say, if you've never hired anybody, what do you look for? What do you want in your waitress? What do you want in your hostess? What do you want in your cook? You know, so those are things that you need to learn how to manage those people, how to manage their time. You know, what are you going to do if someone calls off sick? See, it's things that we don't really think about when we open our doors. And so, what revenue modeling is that you find someone who's doing what you're doing, and you get involved with them so you can understand the business. Okay. For an example, most people know a guy named Ken Thomas. Ken Thomas started Wendy's. Okay, now he didn't start Wendy's. Most people don't realize that he was in his 50s. Well, what was Ken Thomas doing all that time? Well, Ken Thomas had a mentor, someone he worked for. And the ironic part of this is that the name of the place is called Kentucky Fried Chicken. Most people, when they see the picture of Colonel Sanders, they see a very older gentleman. And why is that? Well, Mr. Sanders didn't start the business until he was 65 years old.
Wow.
And so, which is another little point, it's never too late if you have a dream to dream. Is that he didn't start his business until he was 65. Well, his right-hand man stayed with him for about 20 years. Okay. And so, and once he learned everything he could about the chicken business, he went to Mr. Saunders and said, Mr. Saunders, I appreciate what you've done for me. This has been a great run. I have learned just a ton of things in the restaurant business, but I think I really want to start my own business. Okay. And I respect you too much, and not to start another chicken business. I'm going to start a hamburger business. And that was Ken Thomas. Wow. So Ken Thomas spent 20 years studying, learning, grasping, have a good handle of the restaurant business before he opened his own business. And
he was definitely successful.
And very, very successful. Yes. And part of the reason why, because he saved up for it, he planned for it, he revenue modeled with someone who was good in his business, and learned everything he could before jumping out. Like I said, it wasn't 1 or 2 years he was with them. Right. He was with them for a long time before he started his own business. And obviously, his homework, his patience, his planning paid out because everyone knows that Wendy's International is a very, very successful business.
That's right. And even with that, obviously his succession planning was done.
Exactly.
You know, so the business is going on even though he's no longer here. This was a great way to start the show. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back with James Oliver. JC and Associates Tax and Financial Services. Now, James, you were telling us, gave us some good information about planning and owning our own business. That was great advice. So I want to thank you for sharing that with us. But also too, tell us about some of the other services that you offer as a tax person, a tax provider. And in pursuit of that, I also wanted to share, some of his background, Mr. Oliver's credentials. He's, of course, he was born and raised in Cleveland. He went to Cathedral Latin High School, but he also went to Baltimore College, and there he earned his accounting and his finance degree. So that gives him the foundation for his expertise, as well as having had obtained various licenses and certifications, and one of which he's what's called an enrolled agent. And you want to tell us what this really means, being an enrolled agent?
I think most people have heard of CPAs, and unfortunately, as an enrolled agent, we have not done a great job as to make that a household name.
Okay.
But an enrolled agent is someone who's a federally authorized tax practitioner who has technical expertise in the field of taxation, who is empowered by the U.S. Department of Treasury to represent taxpayers before all administrative levels of the IRS for audits, collections, and appeals.
Okay.
And let me explain what that basically means. We are the tax experts. We are the CPAs. When you take a CPA exam, that is basically a 2.5-day test.
Okay.
In the 2.5 days, it starts Wednesday afternoon, all day Thursday, all day Friday. And the areas that are covered for that are generally practice, law, theory, and auditing.
Okay.
Less than 10%, a lot of people don't know this, less than 10% of that test is taxes.
Wow.
Less than 10%. Versus an enrolled agent, when theirs is a 2-day test as opposed to a 2.5-day test, but the whole test is taxes.
Wow. Okay.
So we obviously have a lot more expertise. In fact, there are times that CPAs will hire us because that's not their field of expertise to do taxes for their clients.
Okay.
And so, and the other thing is that as a enrolled agent, I can practice taxes any place in the country.
Okay.
Whereas with a CPA, if I'm a CPA from Ohio and I want to now practice in Florida, I would have to take another test for some of the idiosyncrasies for Florida.
Right.
Whereas as an enrolled agent, you can do taxes any place in the country. I happen to be currently the president of the Enrolled Agents of Greater Cleveland. I am the first African American to hold that position.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In fact, I am in my second term.
Okay.
And
4 more years. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I just couldn't.
And so, yeah, unfortunately, I could not get much of the minority vote, considering that I am the only African American on the board.
Okay.
So
that's awesome. That's a great accomplishment.
I am very privileged to serve in that role, in that capacity. What I would like to do is obviously get more African Americans who are interested in doing taxes to become enrolled agents. I think it's a very, very satisfying profession.
Yes.
I think it's you serve with clients. That's it. And if you don't have to have the same stringent requirements as a CPA as you do with enrolled agents.
Okay.
And so I think it helps to be an accountant, but you don't actually have to be an accountant to be an enrolled agent. So I think it's a very fully career.
Okay.
So, but as to, I think I'm on this mission to educate people about the aspect of money. I think that our society influences us, almost pressures us to get into debt. And in fact, I was in class the other night. I was actually teaching a class of some entrepreneurs. People were interested in starting their own business, and I have an elevator speech that I tell people. Okay. And it goes something like this when I introduce myself. In fact, I said, you should always have an elevator speech, which basically means if someone's asked you, if you're in an elevator with somebody and says, well, what do you do? And you should be able, by the time you get off the elevator, communicate enough to them that they would be interested. And so my elevator speech would go something like, my name is James Oliver. I'm the principal owner of a company called JC and Associates Tax and Financial. We work with people who want to build wealth. Besides giving exceptional and tax and accounting services, our primary focus is on helping others achieve financial independence. As your money coach and proactive tax strategist, we will help you reduce your taxes, decrease your debt, increase your profits, and help you put money in the bank. Over time, you will transition from working for money to money working for you.
All right.
What does all that mean if you break it down? Well, one of the things that you want to do is to have a good handle on your money. You want to be able to have, there is such a thing as good debt and bad debt, but most debt is bad debt.
Okay.
A lot of times, even in college, you're inundated with getting a free, free MasterCard. Okay, they sell you debt right then, and if you don't use that money right, you'll find yourself $500,000 steep, and you're not even working.
Yeah.
As a college student, not even working. So then, before you even get out of college, you already have bad credit. Okay, and your goal is not to have a great FICO score, but your goal is to build wealth. Okay, but one of the ways you build wealth is to do what wealthy people do. I mean, if you look at what wealthy people do, and you look at what you do, if it's not the same, then you need to do what they do in order to get where they get. Remember I said revenue modeling?
Yes.
One of the things you want to do with revenue modeling is that you find out the business you want to be in, find someone successful in that business, and go model after that. Well, if your goal is to become financially independent, find someone who's financially independent. What do they do? One of the things wealthy people don't do, for an example, they don't lease cars. They do not, for an example, Sam Walton. Sam Walton was the owner of Sam's Club and also Walmart. He drove a 14-year-old truck to work. Now, here's a guy who owned a fleet of trucks, but drove a 14-year-old truck. What's he tell you? Okay, he didn't lease cars because the wealthy people don't lease cars. We had this mindset, for an example, well, I'm going to have a car note anyway, so I might as well just lease it.
Right, exactly.
But the problem is that you never get rid of that note. Okay, and one of the goals to becoming towards being wealthy is to eliminate all your debt. Okay, have that emergency money. Okay, get rid of those credit cards. I don't have to say you destroy them, because you probably will need them. If you're going to lease a car for a weekend, it's good to have a credit card. For go into a hotel for a weekend or for a seminar, it's good to have that credit card.
Yes.
But once again, whatever charges you have on those credit cards, you want to pay them off in 30 days. Okay, don't buy. A little story. I was at the point I was a college student. Actually, I was working at Sears, and I went to build my credit up, so to speak. And I remember I got a few credit cards and said $500, $1,000, and I decided I'm going to go for the American Express. Everyone says you need to have an American Express card. So I got my American Express card. I didn't see a limit on it. I said, man, they must have forgotten to tell me what my limit is. So I called American Express and said, hey, and they said, well, Mr. Oliver, you can charge whatever you want. I said, whatever what? 10,000? Whatever you want. I said, okay, what's the catch? It's got to be paid off in 30 days. I said, oh. So at that point, I realized that
at least you had sense enough to call.
Right. But at that point, I also said, I'm going to make sure I pay all my credit cards off in 30 days. And so, but one of the things that you really want to do is you want to be able to manage your money. So I help people manage money, help people put budgets together, help people look in the long term in terms of you're never too young or too old to put money away for your retirement. Financial independence basically means that you can work when you want to work, how you want to work, but you have enough income from other sources to take care of yourself. And so how do you get to that point? Those are one of the things we talk about. How do you put money away? One of the things that you should always do, I suggest to people, no matter what you make from whatever sources is, you put 10% away for yourself. And if you're a Christian, your first 10% is to God, your next 10% is to you. And if you keep that all the way through your life, then you will have enough money at retirement. So those are the things that I help people do. Financial planning. How do you buy a car? How do you buy a house? How do you buy a business if you're interested in buying a business? Those are things I do. Money management. If you're already in debt, what do you do to get yourself out of debt? So I help people with that. So those are all those things that are very important that I think that people need to learn in order to get along in this life financially. There was a quote by Zig Ziglar. I'm sure everyone knows who Zig Ziglar is. He's a big motivator. And one of the things he says is that, and I'm paraphrasing this quote. He says that money is not the most important thing in life. However, next to oxygen is very, very close to the things you got to. So
that's true. Yes, yeah.
And so because we all have to deal with money no matter what field you're in, no matter if you decide to work for somebody or if you work for yourself, we all have to learn how money works, how money is managed.
Absolutely. And we'll be right back. We're going to hear more from James Oliver on the other side of this message.
This is your day to shine, your time to win. So raise your cup and drink.
Hii coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote, trayendo los tesoros de la tierra a la gente del mundo.
Your time to win. Why do the same when you can go? Why do the same when you can go beyond, 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 go beyond.
James Oliver of JC and Associates Tax and Financial. We've had a real spirited conversation today about taxes and finances. I know we were talking off camera a bit about maybe doing a series. And,
Yes.
So definitely we need to plan for that to come in maybe quarterly, so we can cover some stuff and maybe do some webinars.
Okay.
Stuff like that. That would be great. But James is also known as the money coach and proactive tax strategist. So I know you do some training. So as we close out, maybe tell us something about that and how we get in touch with you. And I know you're on some boards or members of some other organizations as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, one of the ways you can get a hold of me is through my phone number. My phone number is 216-491-9350, and I will repeat that a little bit later on. So if you didn't have a pen, you can go grab that pen.
Okay.
I also have my website, which is www.cleveland-accounting.com. Once again, that's www.cleveland-accounting.com. And just for a little piece of information, that picture that you see, that guy, that handsome guy, is not me. My webmaster decided to take another picture instead of a picture of me, so they'll say, well, gosh, that looks nothing like James, and it's not.
I know, I kept asking for this picture, and I'm like, I wasn't getting it. I was like, is that him? No. And also, too, as you were giving your website, again, as an enrolled agent, even though this says Cleveland, the name of your website, that you're able to take care of taxes and accounting for other agencies or individuals throughout the United States.
Yes, in fact, I have clients really literally all over the country. I do about maybe 20 different states, people.
Okay.
And some of them will confess that they've moved, but they want to retain me as their accountant.
Okay.
So, I do taxes for people in Florida, people in Michigan, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. So I can do taxes all over the country.
Awesome.
And so the same thing in terms of financial planning.
Okay.
I also work with those folks doing that. Once again, I'll give you my phone number if you've got that pen. That's 216-491-9350. If I can say one thing,
sure,
is that one of the things that you want to do if you like yourself, pay yourself first. Pay 10% towards you, and I said if you're a Christian, your first 10% to God, your second 10% goes to you. If you do that from now to the rest of your career, you'll have enough money for retirement, and we'll help you make that grow.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Well, that's a good place to end. Unless you have anything else to share with us.
Here's another old saying.
Okay.
For business people, if it doesn't make dollars, then it don't make sense.
Absolutely. So we're gonna leave off with that one. That was it. That was the pinnacle. So you go out and you make something wonderful happen in your life and remember your finances. All right, take care.